InObscuria.
Welcome back, my friends, to the InObscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal, and we put them in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should-have-beens. My name this week is Kevin Williams, and that guy over there, that's Robert Harrison.
Sorry, I didn't get a chance to wash off the grease.
Oh, yeah, you look like a grease monkey over there.
No respect for this podcast. I show up looking like a damn mechanic up here.
I got some shit you need to look at after this.
Okay, well, I'm already dirty. I'm going to go get them wrenches. Oh, man, I got news.
Oh, okay.
Big news.
All right.
Big. I mean, this is big.
All right.
All right. So everybody that has listened to more than one episode of this podcast has heard me bitch about the current state of rock music. That, just haven't heard much lately. I heard a song I like today.
From a new band?
No.
Oh.
Even better.
Okay.
An old
band?
Two old people. Kicked my ass today. It was not just liked, I cranked it up and rolled down the windows. Even though it was 92 degrees, had to have the windows down experience in the car with the stereo blasting. None other than the Prince of Darkness.
The new Ozzy.
Fresh Dark Prince of Bel Air. Yes, new Ozzy. He's had new music over the past year or so. And I was like, okay, that's catchy. But I was always disappointed with the guitar work. Mm-hmm. Think about all the amazing guitarists he's had, three, and other people have played with him on tour, but in his original songs, the past year, the last album was kind of, there's a real weird sounding guitars that just wasn't
because
for me.
It wasn't Zach.
Yeah, or anybody else that alive or dead.
It was his producer.
Yeah, his producer. So guess who the guitar player was? Tony freaking Iommi.
Yes, I've heard it.
What a novel idea for those two to get together and make music, but that's not where it stops. Guess what else or who else made an appearance on this song? Heavy Metal Harmonica was on the song.
Oh, old school Black Sabbath
You had
style.
Tony Iommi, Ozzy Osbourne, and Heavy Metal Harmonica. How often does that happen? Twice, or maybe three times.
Maybe
with
three
the
times.
Wizard of the Dance thing. Yeah, and so they were like, okay, this is new Ozzy. And I'm like, and they're like, and it's Tony Iommi. I'm like, oh, okay. And it started, and within about 30 seconds, I was turning it up. It was a great song. It was, and I can't search for the D something rules, Degradation Rules, or I think that's it. So you got to go listen to Degradation Rules, or Rule. Now I'm forgetting what it was. I don't remember any of the lyrics, but the music was great. The harmonica was kind of funny, but it was fitting, and because it's Ozzy Osbourne. And it probably, I liked it so much because it was just retro. It was classic. It was nostalgia. I don't know if it actually was good, but in my brain, it just clicked all the right buttons, checked all the right boxes, and I love that song. So I just had to say one positive thing
about a new song
on actual radio, satellite radio. But I bet local radio stations are going to pick that up because it kicked ass.
Have you heard the single that came out before that one?
Which one was that?
I don't remember the name of it, but it's not Tony Iommi, it's Jeff Beck.
No, I have not heard that.
It's pretty good, too.
Okay, I want to hear that now.
I actually, it's funny you say that because the other day, 2 days ago, actually, I woke up, and the first thing I usually do is I just kind of wake up in bed, and I usually take Facebook or whatever, and I'll just kind of scroll through or something.
See what's going on.
And I saw that someone had posted the video to the song you're talking about.
Okay.
I listened to about half of it and went, I've heard enough. I went straight to Amazon and I pre-ordered the vinyl. Like,
okay, good. I'm not the only one.
I have not purchased an Ozzy Osbourne album since at least 4 albums
But
ago.
I would like to buy this one. I haven't bought any music in years. So, I mean, I've got you. You're my music pimp, so I don't have to buy music. You're constantly introducing me to new and cool stuff.
You asked for this. If you go back last year, you kept saying, I hope Ozzy makes it, and I hope he does one more album with Zach, and Zach's going to be on it too.
Is he on there? Okay,
Zach's going to be on
so
it too.
So he's paying off my wish. He heard my wishes.
Obviously, he listens to the show.
Yes.
So,
thank you, great Prince of Darkness.
We just call him John because we're good friends.
Yeah.
So we know him as John, but you can call him Ozzy. That's fine.
But
Johnny Boy.
It wasn't too forced. It was perfect. I mean, as far as like, it was doomy sounding. It was heavy and doomy sounding, and it was classic tone on the guitar, but not. It wasn't like 1969 Sabbath, but it was not.
It was Tony Iommi
overly produced crap that he's been spewing for the past couple of albums. So anyway, I had to get that out there. Go check that out. It's not obscure. We haven't really started the show yet, so
this
is unofficial. We can talk about it. Yeah. So that's cool. It made my day today. It really did.
Awesome.
So I celebrated by going home and getting dirty in the garage for the past 4 hours, doing stupid stuff, putting a stereo system in a fire truck.
No. Putting a stereo system in the fire truck.
Not just a stereo system, a bitchin' stereo system with a subwoofer and Bluetooth and whatever else it has.
You should just like permanently mount one of those old ghetto blasters to it from the 80s. A big
It's
boom
got
box.
kind of that roll bar at the top thing. Yeah. I should just hang it from that. Let it swing in the breeze.
Swing.
Yeah. Well, now you come up with these good ideas after I've already bought the stuff. Anyway,
that's a bitchin' sound system.
That is
the old ghetto.
But those things are expensive now. Everybody wants them, and they go for $100, $200 for the crap one. So
you're saying everybody wants some?
Everybody wants some.
And you want some too?
I want some too.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest.
All right, cool.
How about you?
Well, baby, how about you? Oh, man. So what else? Anything else happening this week?
Worked on a tiny fire truck.
Of course you did.
And we got an art show tomorrow night. We're taking over our art gallery, our little arts group that we have here in town. We started an art collective or whatever called Indie Arts Alliance. And it's a bunch of artists that we know. And we got asked nicely to take over a gallery. We're going to bring all of our weird art there and show them something a little different. So we're going to have an opening reception tomorrow night, like real artists and everything. So that's what's going on right now. Once that's over with, I think I'm heading up the mountains, or not the foothills of South Carolina, your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
For the weekend.
My people.
I bought 120 gallons of propane to take camping.
Of course you did. That's because everyone needs that.
Yes. I may come back with some. I don't think I'm going to use all of it, but yeah, we'll see how much I can fit in the truck.
Well, my apologies if I keep looking at my phone.
Yeah.
A fellow podcaster, Mr. Brad Rustoven, keeps texting me. He is actually, as we're recording this, he is at the Cult Show, I'm sure in Michigan where he lives, or maybe somewhere around there, and he is doing his pre-gaming, which is what his podcast, the Slamfest podcast, is all about. It's all about the pre-gaming and then talking about the show. So
he has an amazing memory of lots of concerts. I can't fathom how he remembers all the details for all these concerts, but you said he keeps a spreadsheet.
He does.
He has a spreadsheet of all the concerts he's been to with documentation and notes and critiques and things like that. That's dedication right there. That's badass.
He's doing basically chronicling his entire life of going to concerts.
I don't know anybody else that does that.
One episode at a time.
I'm sure there is, but I don't know anybody else that's that dedicated to go and see live music. That's really cool because of that, we get good memories and good details of what concerts were like 15, 20 years ago.
Exactly. So he just happens to be texting me because first thing he sent me was, give me a song. I need something to play in my pregame. And so I sent him some stuff. And then he said, oh, by the way, look what I'm doing. And he sends me a screenshot of our podcast, and Everything Turns Gray Goth Rock podcast, where he is actually playing songs that we have played on our goth rock episodes as his pregame for the Cult.
It's
good on you, Brad.
That's awesome. That's kind of a preview for our Gothtober.
Gothtember. No,
that's
wait.
right.
We're going to Gothtember. More than likely, we'll do a show in Gothtober. This is getting
too hard.
This is hard. I can't keep the goth up.
But it's still, we got 2.5 hot months away until we get to that, so we'll get there eventually.
Well, after you goth it up. Go listen to Pot of Thunder, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, Slamfest Podcast, Decibel Geek, A to Z Radio, Metal Up Your Podcast, The Hustle, Disciples of the Watch, Podcast Rock City, Sean Geek and Fast Fret Podcast, State of Amorica, Rock Strikes 10, Potter Than Hell, Podkiss, The Kiss Room, Ages of Rock, Retrozest Podcast, The Synaptic Empire, and don't forget about Monty's Rockcast. Come visit us at InObscuria.com. Like us, share us, recommend us, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go buy some stuff, and that's all there is for that. Oh, leave a review. Yeah, you can do that too.
If you want
leave
to.
a review if you
feel
want
like
to.
it.
And I just have to call this out. I sent you a text last week. We got a gift. We got another gift in the mail.
Was it a picture disc?
An album. You had just asked Craig Elvin in the episode, what the hell is a picture disc?
What is a picture disc?
We got one
from kindergarten.
Yeah, we got one in the mail, and it was from our awesome listener, Mr. Steve Coldwell, friend of the podcast, and he sent us something he found when he was doing a little vinyl hunting. He sent us a picture disc of Witchfinder General, Death Penalty. Now, if you go back and listen to our last New Wave of British Heavy Metal episode, we played a song from that album, and we talked about that band, and they have a cover on that particular album that has, it has boobies on it. And so I used to go...
What is that? What does it have
boobies,
on it?
Boobies on it.
It's about the boobies! Oh, those boobies! Aptly enough.
Let's make it work, girls. It's time to take off your time!
Get up! Let me!
And so I used to go to my local record store, and I would somehow spend a lot of time in the W's. Look at the boobies.
Did they have like a separate room you could listen to the album in quiet, and close the door behind you?
I had to sit down. Excuse me, can I sit down and listen to this?
Sir, you can't take that in the bathroom. What are you doing?
So now I have a picture disc that if I put on the old platter at home, I have to watch out that the kids don't come around. Are those boobies spinning around in a circle?
Take some Dramamine before you stare at that going around and around and around and around.
I have spent quite a bit of time in the W section of my vinyl library this week, so thank you, Steve.
Yes, thank you.
He also sent us a memory stick with some other songs.
You hope you're not downloading some horrible viruses and malware. He could be a Russian agent trying to get all your personal info.
Yeah, all that children's hospital stuff, that's just a ruse.
That's just a cover.
It's a cover.
Working 12-hour days.
We got our eyes on you, Steve. We see what's going on.
Yeah.
I must break you.
If I play that Witchfinder General backwards, what the hell is it going to tell me to do?
Putin is good. Putin is good. Putin is good.
Oh, man. Well, thank you very much, Steve. That was super cool. Love getting stuff in the mail. Snail mail, man. Awesome.
That's old school.
That is old school. Okay, so for this week, Robert, a couple of weeks ago, we had Craig on. The way that we got the episode that particular week was we had the EVP Ghost amplifier. It blew up. I took it home. I put a ton of duct tape on it, and I'm pretty sure that duct tape fixes everything. So I thought I would try once again the EVP Ghost Amplifier device. This is what the paranormal investigators use, and let's just see. I was hoping that it would give us, again, something that we can talk about this week. So we're going to let the ghost dial in and tell us what to listen to, okay?
All right.
All right, let's go for it. That was not a ghost. That was the beer talking.
The demon.
It was the demon. All right, here we go. I'm going to cut this thing on again, and hopefully it boots up. Oh, yeah.
How much electricity is that used?
Duct tape.
My electricity bill is going to be through the roof.
Let's see what we get. Come on, ghost.
I want some music out of you characters.
You want it, Artie? You got it.
Let's rock and roll!
Ladies and gentlemen, honors our British proud to present the single night only. The one sticks on, the one, the only. Keep it easy. Welcome, Bullseye in the Hot Dog Cafe.
Excuse me, is someone out there not having a good time? Somebody crying out there in the darkness? Somebody crying.
I'm sorry.
Uh-oh. Nope. Damn it, there it goes again. Whoops. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that was not a ghost. It took me a minute. Did you know what that was?
Was it a glitch instead of a ghost?
It was definitely of
Time.
B or C material.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we just got some sort of shortwave crossover with this thing because, damn, you smell that?
Is that me? Oh, that's me.
No, it smells like burned popcorn.
Ooh, I think you're having a stroke. That's definitely a stroke.
I don't know.
It smells like burned popcorn.
I got it. It was telling us something. Okay, so that's...
It's telling us you're having a stroke.
No, it is what I think it is. That sounded to me like Buckaroo Banzai and the Hong Kong Cavaliers. It's exactly who that was. I got it now. You don't remember Buckaroo Banzai?
I know the name. I don't think I ever saw the movie.
You never saw Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension?
It looked pretty damn stupid, but I prejudged
Do you even know who Buckaroo Banzai is?
I prejudged it from the preview.
Dr. Buckaroo Banzai, not only a rock star, as you heard, he could play the guitar and the flugelhorn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he was playing.
Okay.
He was a physicist, a neurosurgeon, and a test pilot. And it's thanks to him in 1984, he defeated a band of interdimensional aliens, okay?
Well, I'm glad he did.
It's the reason we're here.
Yeah, I was in high school. I didn't know what was going on. So if these were fighting aliens, I was oblivious to it.
Yeah, so Robert, I believe it's time. What do you do in the summer? I watch a lot of movies in the summer, so it is time. It's episode 138, Arcane Sounds from the big screen, Summer Days.
Oh, summer movies.
Summer movies, man.
Save the summertime for the big blockbusters, the Supermans, the Batmans,
Oh,
all
yeah.
the Marvel,
All the mans.
Marvelous Comics things.
Oh, yeah. Well, I even go back, back in the day, you had the Raiders, you had all the
what?
Indiana Jones stuff, you had all the Star
yeah.
Wars.
Yeah.
Summers were
that
full
was our
of
summer block. Jaws. Oh,
Jaws, great.
I lived
great
where they
stuff.
filmed
Jurassic Park.
Jaws 2.
Oh.
Right down the street from my house. They would
Really?
give tours and show you where they filmed Jaws 2. So go pull up that movie and fast forward to the beach scenes, and
And you're there?
that's like 150 yards, maybe a mile from my house.
Yes, we've done this in episode 57 and 78. We discussed how my sister was a soundtrack nut growing up. So most of my, I guess, musical taste started with soundtracks because that's what my older sister had, which, she had a lot of crappy ones, but
Yeah.
she also has some good ones. And
I think my sister had Grease and Xanadu.
oh, yeah, we had both of those.
She had the albums
Yeah,
and would play
vinyl.
those albums incessantly. So
Yeah, because the 70s and the early 80s, that's when the soundtrack became a thing.
Yep, and then once she got a car, she had Rocky Horror Picture Show going nonstop in her Celica, Toyota Celica.
My sister was all about the Top Gun and
That was later
Iron
on.
Eagle
She would have had that
all the
later on,
80s,
but-
all the early 80s, mid 80s stuff.
Yeah.
That was all her thing. Flashdance, Footloose, you name it. She had all those.
yeah,
Xanadu.
I'm sure. All that too.
Yeah, so they actually introduced me to a lot of bands because on these soundtracks, what they would do is, depending on the budget of the movie and the soundtrack itself, they would get a couple of key artists to do the singles, and then you might have some just kind of lower tier bands that they didn't have to pay a lot, but they could throw them on.
It was usually Kenny Loggins.
Well, he did pretty well.
It was an 80s movie.
Yeah.
Probably he was up there doing a hit, and then everybody else is
And then
following along.
whoever else was on.
Yeah.
Yes, you might get the lead singer from Mr. Big before you
Yeah.
even knew who he was. He's actually on the Iron Eagle soundtrack.
Oh, is he?
As himself,
Oh,
before
wow.
Mr. Big. So it's kind of
He was Mr. Medium.
So growing up in the 80s, especially at my house during the summer, I would go to like one camp. My parents would send me to one camp. Other than that, I was outside pulling weeds or doing whatever my dad needed.
We had Camp Lawn Care.
Yeah,
that was my summer
exactly.
program. It was like, here's the lawnmower. Here's a list of people that said they wanted you to mow their yards.
Go
Good
wash
luck.
the cars, do
Yeah.
whatever around the house, pull weeds. That was my least favorite thing to do, was actually
pull weeds.
sitting out and pulling weeds until I discovered music, and then I could sit there with my headphones on and just jam out.
I thought you were going to say until I discovered weed.
pull that weed. Oh.
Oh, okay. It
No.
took me 2 hours for this one weed, man. But okay, I'll do it.
But the other thing we did is we watched a ton of movies, my sister and I. So during the summers, while we were off from school, we would either go see those blockbusters in the theater.
Because it was air conditioned.
It was air conditioned and it was nice. Or we would rent videos, because those were back in the day when you would we went to our local record store called Square Records, and that's where we got most of our videos, but until we got a Blockbuster in my little town. But yeah, we would rent videos, and it didn't matter what it was, we would get it and just watch it. Or we had HBO, so we would, whatever was on HBO, we would watch it. Now, back in those days, HBO used to play like 5 major films a month, and they would just replay them and replay them and replay them. But in between, you might get a B or C movie.
Yeah, but once a day you could catch it.
And then there were things like Night Flight and the USA Network and Turner. They all would show movies in the summer too, because they knew kids were at home back in those
You had
days.
to put it with commercials, though.
Yeah, you had to put it
And
with
they were
commercials.
edited, so any flashing or anything like that, you missed all that.
Exactly. So, like I said, we've done this in episode 57 and 78. In 57, we focused mostly on movies that were about rock bands or about musicians or about artists, and we tried to play some of those songs. I'm going to slip into that a little bit today, but really I'm going to try to highlight some of the films that came out in the summer season. Not all of these are summer films, but in the summer season, and just kind of reminisce about a few of the bands that were on some major, because most of the movies in the summer were major movies. That's when they made all their money, so they put out the big ones, right?
It's still that way.
The big budget movies come out in the summer. So we're going to talk about some pretty popular movies and some pretty popular soundtracks, but we're going to, of course, we're in Obscuria, we're going to tweak it a little bit. So let's get into the first movie. This is a very important film that came out in 1994. And for people my age, your age, we were in college at the time, or maybe you were just out. You were been out for what?
94?
A couple of years. Yeah.
Oh, a year and 1 year. I graduated in the spring, late spring. So yeah, it would have been a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah. So around that time, there's, movies, especially alternative movies, meant a lot to us because it was the times were changing. And released in May of that year in 1994 was this movie called The Crow. You didn't see The Crow. You're shaking your head over there.
Never did.
Wow. So it stars Brandon Lee, who is Bruce Lee's son.
Look like a chick flick.
Oh, no, not at all. This is it's a goth movie, man. You need to watch
This
it.
was way before I would be okay with that. I was like, yeah.
Yes. So it's a movie based on a comic book, but it's a very dark comic book. It's very gothy.
To go back and rewatch it now, or just watch it.
So Brandon Lee stars in it. It's his final film appearance because he actually, the thing that this was most famous for at the time was he actually died on set. He was killed, accidental death on set. And he's Bruce Lee's son, so there was a lot of attention on him. So what happened was on March 31st, 1993, he was filming in Wilmington, North Carolina. And I don't know if you know this or if you remember this, but back in the 90s, because right now we live in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is kind of the new Hollywood. A lot of the films are made here. Most of the Marvel movies are made here in Atlanta. A lot of the Disney stuff. So a ton of
TV
Netflix.
shows, Stranger Things,
all of that's
Dead,
made here.
all those shows were filmed right down the road.
But in the 90s, the same kind of thing was going on in Wilmington, North Carolina. There were studios in Wilmington, North Carolina, because there was a huge tax break there to make. So a lot of 80s and 90s films have North Carolina as the backdrop, even though you don't know it. But yeah, they were shooting this film in Wilmington, and the scene called for a revolver to be fired at Lee from a distance of 12 to 15 feet. And they had dummy cartridges in there, and they exchanged those for one scene, and then they exchanged those with blank rounds, which have a powder charge. So you can actually, when you're filming it, you can see the powder coming out of the gun. Now, nothing should have come out. However, when they switched over from the dummy cartridges to the blank rounds, something got stuck in the barrel from the dummy cartridge. And so when the blank fired, it actually projected what was stuck in the barrel.
It became a bullet.
It became a bullet, essentially, and that's what struck him in the chest. The production company had sent the firearms specialist home early, and so that gun was never inspected by someone who's certified to do it. A prop assistant who didn't even know the rules for checking the gun, checked the gun and said, yeah, it's fine.
Well, it was tragic, but thankfully we learned from that.
Yeah, it'll never happen again.
It'll never ever
happen again.
Oh,
wait, didn't it just happen?
Yeah.
Ah, damn it.
Dumbasses.
Yeah, so it's the same situation. That's what killed him.
Just negligence.
Yep.
It was tragic. I mean, his father's death was, it wasn't negligence, it was tragic in the sense that, I can't even remember the story now. He had a headache or aneurysm
Bruce Lee,
something. It was something really bizarre. And so it just seemed like a family curse.
That's exactly what they said. And that was the whole thing with The Crow. The Crow was a very dark, gothy movie. And so it was like, it's the curse, Bruce Lee's curse, hit his child as well. That's one of the things that was said. So it got as much notoriety and attention because of what happened to Bruce's son, Brandon. And, it was tragic, but the movie itself is really damn good. You should go watch it. Very gothy. And the soundtrack is killer. In fact, everybody that I knew in college had this soundtrack. This is one of those that was in everyone's car. Everybody used to carry the old CD wallets in their car. This was one of those ones that was always there.
I just did that 2 weeks ago.
Exactly. And it was a chart-topping album as well. It had songs by The Cure. It had Jesus and Mary Chain, Rage Against the Machine, Helmet, Nine Inch Nails, Rollins Band, Pantera was on it. Big Empty by Stone Temple Pilots was on this soundtrack.
Oh, it's perfect timing. I know it. I didn't see the movie. I know about it. And I remember hearing all the songs from the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
It was just
multiple hits off of the soundtrack. And the soundtrack itself, I think, went platinum. So, like I said, everybody owned this thing. But like I was saying earlier, there's always a band or two that's on it and you're like, I don't know who that is. Amongst all these big names at the time, all these up-and-coming bands, and there just happens to be a band called For Love, Not Lisa on this album. They're an American hard rock band formed in the early 90s in Oklahoma City. They put out 2 albums in 93 and 95. They actually toured with Rage Against the Machine, but they split up in 96. So there's almost no memory of this band unless you just saw them or happen to know about them, or you didn't skip this one. But it was a CD, so more than likely most people skipped it. But I think the song is pretty killer. They actually did a video for this song, and they used snippets from the movie, and you would have thought that would have got them a little more attention. But MTV played it on Headbangers Ball, but didn't go anywhere. So we're going to dive into this one first. This is For Love, Not Lisa from the Crow soundtrack, and the song is Slip, Slide, Melting.
She been right through me. Where we could have
Damn, I like both of those songs.
Yeah, 547, and that was a single.
Yeah, might be one of the things that led them to not get played that often on the radio, but it was still a good song, and I don't remember them at all, but that doesn't mean anything, really. Yeah, that kind of the Master of Puppets multi-part song, blistering song, then it takes a break, and then finishes off and blisters a little bit more.
Yeah, to me, very Siamese Dream, Smashing Pumpkins up front, very Billy Corgan-like guitar playing. I couldn't quite place what the vocals were reminding me of.
Jane's Addiction. I'm Perry Farrell.
A little Jane's
Perry
Addiction.
Farrell.
I was thinking Silverchair a little bit too, is what.
Yeah, a little of that.
Going.
I mean, that early 90s. In fact, as a matter of fact, this morning I woke up and a friend of mine gave me a subscription to Spotify, which I've always been cheap and hadn't paid for that. So I was just diving in, and there's a playlist called 99X Nostalgia. 99X is the radio station we've talked about a few times that was around in the 90s here in Atlanta. It was a powerhouse, broke lots of bands, had huge ratings, then it kind of fizzled out and went away. But on this playlist, it was every song that you've heard of, all the hits. Then there's 3 or 4 that I didn't remember. And one of them was a band called Billionaire or Billionaires. I can't remember if it's singular or plural, but there was a song there. I'll pull it up later on.
I don't remember that one.
Play for it. And it was really good, but it had this very similar sound to this, where the first thing I thought of was Jane's Addiction. And it was just, hard rock, but with that kind of vocals that makes you think of Perry. So it was cool to listen to that. I thought we could bring that up on a future episode, that I have to do my part once in a while to bring in some material.
Yeah. I mean, I don't recall.
I don't bring a lot of stuff to it, but once in a while. I'll go through and pick 2 or 3 bands that I don't remember at all. And that's what I was digging for. It was not the hits. I hear the hits all the time, but all those bands in between that maybe they played them for a week or 2 and went away. That's what we need to find out now. This band falls in that same category. They might have played them for 2 weeks, but with a 5.5-minute song, probably not.
Yeah, and they were good.
Yeah,
I dug it, but there were a bunch of other bands doing the same thing and probably a little elevated, a little better than what they were doing. But there's no reason that band should not be remembered. I mean, I think they're pretty damn good. So, all right, let's move into a movie released in June of 1988, and this is from a director named Penelope Spheres, who, if you know anything about her, in that time, she had done an awesome punk rock and an awesome metal documentary called Decline of the Western Civilization 1 and 2. Have you ever seen those movies?
No, I don't think so.
Oh my God, you got to YouTube both of those, especially Decline of the Western Civilization Part 2.
Is that like History of the World Part 2?
No, the first, it is not Mel Brooks.
Okay.
The first one is all about,
that one.
So it all takes place in LA. Basically, she documents what's going on in LA, and that's where she's making the movies. She basically followed around the first one, all of these LA punk bands in the early mid-'80s. In Decline Part 2, it was the Sunset Strip and everything going on. Metal. So she covers hair metal. She covers...
I've seen snippets of it, but I've never actually sat down and watched start to finish.
It's pure gold. I mean, it's so good. There's so many quotes that you will get from that.
Attention, everybody!
Alice Cooper, Aerosmith.
Dude, looks like a lady.
Kiss.
This movie is about groups, metal, guitars, girls.
Ozzy Osbourne and Poison, the megastars and the rising stars of metal.
I'm going to be a rock star.
So I want to be a rock star.
I'm going to be a rock star.
Good looks and if they're pretty, wish I was.
To be a rock and roll star is the greatest thing in the world.
Then you got things like divorces, management rip-offs, fatigue, drugs.
Rock and roll. Why do they do it?
I'm in it for the money.
A headbanger is someone that drives by in their car and goes, Melody!
How do they make a living?
I'm a professional musician. I don't work. I can't stand work.
We don't work. We play music.
We are not role models for your life.
And why do they get all the girls?
Because they have good music and really, they're good looking.
And what about the groupies?
I like to call them the fleas and ticks of rock and roll.
But what do they really want to be?
I would say happy.
I'm a happy camper.
The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2, The Metal Years.
Better than sex, better than anything in the world you could ever do.
And and so many scenes like Ozzy making breakfast where he's spilling everything because he's like got the shakes.
Because he's Ozzy, yeah.
Yeah, it's unreal. You got to go watch it. Anyway, she was the director on those two films, as well as there's a punk rock, it's not a documentary, it's just a punk rock movie that she made called Suburbia, and it features TSOL and the Vandals, and Flea's in it from the Chili Peppers. He's young. He's a really young guy, but he plays one of the characters in it. So in 87, she put out this movie. It didn't get released nationally until 88, but she put out this movie called Dudes.
Want to be a cowboy. I was born to be a cowboy.
I'm so sick of doing this. I'm sick of waiting for the world to end. Let's move to California. City boys. Hey man, we're not looking for any trouble. We are.
They're outsiders.
You know, maybe this wouldn't have happened if you'd looked like normal folks.
In a place you won't find on any map.
Just let the cops handle it.
Come on, you saw them. If we don't do anything, nobody will.
So, what brings you to Utah?
Hunting.
You are dealing with the son of a New York cab driver!
Well, you boys are having quite a day.
They were strangers.
You're just a couple of stupid punks playing cowboy.
In a land where legends are part of the landscape.
I'm gonna rock, I'm gonna roll until the cows come home. Tell me, pretty baby, if you're thinking like this. I'm gonna find out where you're at. I'll take you out tonight if I got to make a loan. Yeah, then we're rocking, then we're rolling till the cows come home. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, take my
Dudes.
It's Miller time.
You gotta love them.
Take my hand.
And
Never heard of it.
Had John Cryer in it as the main character. And basically, she took a traditional kind of Western story where you've got a bandit who kills somebody and then you go off and you chase the bandit. But she did it in a contemporary setting, and the guy that gets killed, the group that gets killed, and then they go off and chase the bad guy, they're punks. So they're three punk rock kids who are moving from New York, and they're driving across the country to go to LA. And then once they get into the Western territory, that's where they meet some guy who murders one of the punks. And that punk is played by, once again, Flea.
It's like The Wonders of the World. That's one of them, right?
So Flea gets killed in this movie.
I had no idea he was so talented.
And then the other two go and they pursue the murderer in Arizona or Montana or somewhere. And yeah, it's a cult classic film. It did not do well in the box office. It was kind of scattered. It was all over the place. But it is definitely a time capsule of that period where, things were transitioning in the two movies she made. Things were transitioning from punks to the metal scene. So the soundtrack is actually an awesome mix of LA punk and metal from the mid to late 80s, which is kind of cool. So you've got the very first song on it's Keel. So our buddy Ron Keel has a song on it. Megadeth's on it. The Vandals, who are a punk band. A brand new band who has a recording of the song called Mountain Song. Jane's Addiction is on it. And it's a different recording than what they released. So it's kind of interesting. It's like their first version or demo of it.
Or something like that.
So it's kind of cool. And then it also features this band that we're going to play, who is not an obscure band, happens to be a band that you and I are going to see in November. We're talking about Wasp. Now, the reason I've chosen to play Wasp here is because the song that is on this album is not one that's on any of their actual releases, other than the most notorious single, I should say, that they ever released, which was number 9 on the PMRC's Filthy 15 list. I'm talking about the single called Animal Fuck Like a Beast. It was number 9, according to Tipper Gore, when the old PMRC... Now, do you know about the Filthy 15?
I vaguely remember it, but I was unaware of it at the time.
So that song is not on this soundtrack, but the B-side to the single Animal Fuck Like a Beast is the song that we're going to play. It's also on Dudes. But going back to the Filthy 15, so what happened was, if people, younger people won't know this, but there are these stickers that used to be on media like
parental advisory,
explicit lyrics or whatever it says. And the whole reason that came to be was because of the Filthy 15. It was Tipper Gore, Al Gore's wife at the time. It was her little pet project.
In the nation's capital last week, the Beastie Boys, the latest rage in rock, were forced by concerned parents groups to be good before television cameras.
So if your parents don't want you to come here and see us, what we're doing, maybe you should go home and tell them that you just had a good time and you know what you're doing.
In Washington, the group was denied the freedom to display a 20-foot hydraulic male sex organ on stage, among other displays and antics used at a recent concert in Columbus, Georgia. The incident was only the latest in what is turning into a national confrontation over rock. In 1985, rock star Frank Zappa helped head off a push for a rating system on rock albums by proposing that all lyrics be printed inside.
If you consider that the public needs to be warned about the contents of the records, what better way than to let them see exactly what the songs say? That way you don't have to put any kind of subjective rating on the record. You don't have to call it R, X, D, A, anything. You can read it for yourself.
Zappa rose in opposition to a group of congressional wives called the Parents Music Resource Center. The PMRC, organized to expose offensive rock themes and lyrics, obtained an agreement with the recording industry a year ago that lyrics would be made available on record jackets or album covers, and that any records with explicit lyrics would carry a warning label.
Right. Some of the album covers are very explicit. In fact, they look like they should be in Playboy or Penthouse, some of them. And they're in the record bins available to young children. But others, you can't tell. I bought the Purple Rain album for our 11-year-old, and I didn't know that Darling Nikki was on it, and I felt that it was inappropriate for her and her 8- and 6-year-old sister to hear a song describing a girl masturbating in a hotel lobby.
But so far, the PMRC has been dissatisfied with the recording industry's compliance with the agreement, despite the findings of 2 polls showing 75 to 80% adult support for warning labels. Meanwhile, the Reverend Jimmy Swaggart has taken the lead among TV preachers, calling rock music the new pornography.
To bring all of the attention of these horrible songs and these horrible musicians
trying to save us from ourselves
to Congress, and to have them pass this federal law so that they had to put stickers on albums so that parents knew if your child is buying this, they may be tainted for life.
And what did it do? It ended up selling more and more records.
Exactly. I can't remember which artist it was. There was one artist who basically took the sticker and made that the entire album cover. It was some rap artist. I can't remember if it's Ice-T or something.
Smart rap artist, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, that's exactly what happened. Is it became a badge of honor, instead of something that was warning.
Straight to that. You're like, I
gotta get this one.
My parents will hate this. I want it.
Now, what's really funny is to go back, take yourself out of 1980. I don't remember what year that was. 86, maybe 87. Take yourself out of that and look at it from today's view of what the Filthy 15 were. I'm going to run this down because this is so funny to me. So this is what was considered just lewd and, just should not be listened to. This is what caused that whole sticker concept to happen. Number 1, Prince, Darling Nikki, because it was sexual and had masturbation references.
Oh, can't say that word.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
my goodness. Number 2. So I thought there would be like all this death metal and like really nasty stuff on here. No, number 2, Sheena Easton. Because of her song Sugar Walls, because it was about sex.
Oh, what? Was it? Oh, I had no idea.
Oh, my gosh. Now, number 3, we finally get our metal gods, and Judas Priest with Eat Me Alive, sex and violence.
So cannibalism is bad.
Well, I guess looking back at it now, it was like, we got you, Tipper. You didn't know it was about gay sex.
Psych.
Number 4, this is all centered around Prince, it seems like. Vanity, Strap On, Robbie Baby, because it was about sex. Right?
I don't know the Robbie Baby, but is that the name of their strap?
That's the name of the song.
Oh, it's the name of the strap on.
I don't even remember. Maybe, probably. Or maybe Robbie needed a strap on.
I don't know. Either way.
Okay, number 5, we get back to the metal. Yeah. Motley Crue with Bastard.
Oh, can't say that word.
Can't say that. Violence and language was the reason.
Can't talk about kids without dads.
Number 6, AC/DC for Let Me Put My Love Into You. Apparently that's about sex.
What?
What?
No.
No.
Is that Bon Scott or was that?
No, that's Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson. Okay, so he was wanting to transfer emotions to another person, and he gets on the list. Very misunderstood.
Number 7, and the person who went and spoke in front of Congress, Mr. D. Snyder, with Twisted Sister, We're Not Gonna Take It, for violence.
My name is D. Snyder, that's S-N-I-D-E-R. I have been asked to come here to present my views on, quote, the subject of the content of certain sound recordings and suggestions that recording packages be labeled to provide a warning to prospective purchasers of sexually explicit or other potentially offensive content, unquote. Before I get into that, I'd like to tell the committee a little bit about myself. I'm 30 years old, I'm married, I have a 3-year-old son. I was born and raised a Christian, and I still adhere to those principles. Believe it or not, I do not drink, I do not smoke, and I do not do drugs. I do play in and write the songs for a rock and roll band named Twisted Sister that is classified as heavy metal. And I pride myself on writing songs that are consistent with my above-mentioned beliefs. There are many facets to this complex issue, and time does not permit me to address all of them. However, my feelings are expressed for the most part by the August 8th, 1985 letter to the Parents Music Resource Center from Mr. Stanley Gordikoff, President of the Recording Industry Association of America. This letter was a formal response to the PMRC's petition of the RIAA. The only part of this document I do not support is Mr. Gordikoff's unnecessary and unfortunate decision to agree to a so-called generic label on some selected records. In my opinion, this should be retracted. Since I seem to be the only person addressing this committee today who has been a direct target of accusations from the presumably responsible PMRC, I would like to use this occasion to speak on a more personal note and show just how unfair the whole concept of lyrical interpretation and judgment can be, and how many times this can amount to little more than character assassination. I have taken the liberty of distributing to you material and lyrics pertaining to these accusations. There were 3 attacks in particular which I would like to address.
Oh my God. We're not going to take it, and that's violent.
Okay, number 8.
I'm going to have to listen to that song and try to figure out what was violent about that.
Number 8, Madonna, Dress You Up. I don't even remember the song.
Oh, I remember that one.
I don't remember that one at all. It's about sex, apparently. It's about sex, Robert.
I'm going to dress you up with my love.
Damn.
That's...
Number 9, Wasp, Animal Fuck Like a Beast.
Now
I sort of get this
that one. Yeah. Okay, we all agree on that one. Tipper got that one right.
Okay, all right. Number 10, Def Leppard, High and Dry.
It's dry.
Because it references drug and alcohol use.
But he's dry. So he was high, but now he's dried out. That was like the tamest of offensive stuff.
Finally, we get some dark metal. Number 11, Merciful Fate, Into the Coven, because it's about the occult. Well, everything they ever did was, why are you picking that one song?
That song wasn't even played in Okaloosa County, Florida, where I'm from.
Number 12, and you got to think of when this came out, Black Sabbath, Trashed. Now, that is a Black Sabbath, an 80s song.
Yeah.
Nobody was listening to Black Sabbath in the 80s. Come on, man. Drug and alcohol use.
Well,
my God.
They did after the label was put on that album.
Number 13, the Mary Jane Girls, In My House, because it's about sex. We're almost done here.
They had a very nice house. Did you ever see it? It was nice. It's really nice.
Number 14. Okay, here's your...
The curtains match...
Here you go. Yeah, match the drapes. Number 14. Venom with Possessed.
No, that's another one.
The occult.
That's another one.
Okay.
There was no albums or records shipped into Okaloosa County, Florida that contained that. I can guarantee that.
Well, I bet you got number 15.
We were very tame.
I bet you got number 15. Rounding it out, the Filthy 15. Cyndi Lauper with She Bop.
She Bop.
Because apparently she bopped.
She bopped all over town. But that was when you get away with, because who knew what the hell they were talking about? That wasn't so...
She bopped a lula.
She bopped a lula. But no, that was another one that was stretching it. Yeah, Tipper had nothing better to do.
Yeah. So anyway, tangent, back to Wasp and back to their song that is on the original motion picture from Dudes. Here is Show No Mercy.
Ooh.
I don't think I heard a Wasp song until I was probably it's after I met you. So late 20s, early 30s. So it was a very late bloomer for that type of music. If I had heard that when that came out and I was 14 years old, 15, what year was that? 84 or 85?
That
86?
was 85?
Yeah, 85.
84, 85.
Yeah, that would have scared the shit out of me. Because his voice, I mean, the music starts and it's basically Motorhead.
Then he accomplished what he was trying to do.
And then his voice comes in and I've always been just enthralled with his voice. It is so unique. It is soaring. I've never actually heard a screaming banshee, but that's what I imagine he is. And just like flying around the stage and swinging and just swooping over the audience as he sings and just swoops down and grabs you by the shirt. And that's my vision of one of the shows. I've never actually seen him in concert, so I can't wait. I hope he hasn't lost it. I know it's not going to be exactly the same.
He's a little bigger.
That's all right, but
he still looks scary as hell. He actually looks scarier now that he's older.
Yeah, and I can't. Yeah, it's like the singer for Slayer. He looks like an evil Santa Claus.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
Blackie looks pretty evil now.
Yeah, and so he's been one of those bands that pulls it off. There's a lot of bands that try to be evil and they're comical. And even Ozzy's kind of a caricature of himself. Back in the Black Sabbath days, there was some evilness to it. Then by the time I got around to listen to Ozzy, I knew he was, he's just a goofball with, some metal chops. But getting back to Blackie Lawless, God almighty, that voice. I can't say enough about how unique and amazing that voice is. It just sets him apart from everybody else. I mean, you got Rob Halford that can scream, but this just soars. It just kind of ebbs and ups and downs, and it soars around the room as you're listening to it.
They were one of my original bands that I got into. Once I started branching out from the punk rock and my skater days in, say, 86, around 87, around when this came out, I was getting into metal, and I started with Iron Maiden. Well, actually, I started with Metallica, but at the time, I didn't consider thrash. I thought that was still kind of part punk in my mind at that time. But I got Iron Maiden, and then from there, I got Wasp and Judas Priest and Motorhead. Yeah. So I got all those at the same time. To me, Wasp they were just one of the bands. They were huge at the time, but they were one of the biggest bands to me as a kid that was out there. And they were like all theatrical and scary and everything that I liked, Halloween-y,
But it's like they backed it up a little bit better than a lot of bands that like Halloween. Okay, they're gonna
don't you go there?
Yeah, okay,
tread lightly, my friend.
But it's just satirical at best. But Wasp, were they the band that had the problem with people throwing raw meat at them?
No, Wasp were the band throwing the raw meat.
Oh, they were throwing. Okay, they were throwing.
That was part of their.
They got in trouble for throwing the raw meat. That's what it was.
Yeah,
I got mixed up with Bare Naked Ladies and them throwing macaroni and cheese.
Yeah. How do you get Wasp mixed up with Bare Naked Ladies?
That's how my brain works.
Wow.
You're welcome.
Wow.
There's some weird stuff going on up there. Don't ask.
Yeah, but see, Wasp, to me, they took exactly what you just said. They took everything awesome about Ozzy and his whole stage show in the early 80s. They completely ripped it off and took it further. They combined Kiss with it.
We've talked about how everything is a ripoff of Black Sabbath at some point.
So they took Black Sabbath Ozzy. They took Kiss because they were all wearing the leather and the studs. They looked very Kiss-like. They just didn't have the face paint on, but he did have makeup on. The black hair, everything. They took that from Kiss, and then you had that voice that was pretty similar to Lemmy's. He was kind of doing a Lemmy thing, but he was actually able to take it higher. He could hit the stratosphere and still growl.
Lemmy couldn't hit those high notes like that, but he had just sang with balls. But this guy's just, like I said, soaring.
Yeah.
As his vocals, they're not as staccato. It just elevates over the room as he sings.
First black heavy metal shirt I ever owned that I bought at a record shop was a Wasp shirt. And it had Wasp written in the way that they have it written with the metal look, and then it had a skull on it with like catacomb or what do you call it, like the wasp nest inside the eyeball.
Ooh.
And the wasp were flying around the skull. It was a super cool shirt.
Already it's got me wigged out.
And the skull had horns on it too.
I've had several battles with wasps around here, so I don't like the sign of that.
So that was the first shirt I ever bought for my black t-shirt collection that is over the years probably, 500 shirts. Who knows? But that was the first one my mother saw.
Where have they gone? Where are they?
Well, some of them I have, not all of them.
Your parents are washing the car with some of those, aren't
Probably,
they?
yeah. I remember I gave that one to a girl.
Oh.
Yeah, so that one.
Do you regret that?
I do. I wish I still had it.
We always do.
Yeah. All the best shirts went to a girl.
Yep.
Yep, and they don't return.
Nope. We are thinking with another part of our body besides our brain.
Exactly. And that segues really well into the next movie. This is a 90s movie, late 90s movie, that reestablished the teen party movie. It became a worldwide pop culture phenomenon. It gained a huge, strong cult following that continues to this day. It is just a monster of a what do you call it, a legacy? I don't know. There's several spinoffs, let's just say, and I'm talking about American Pie. When that thing came out, it reestablished all those awesome movies from the 80s that we grew up with, like the 16 Candles and you name it. There's tons of them.
I mean, the apple pie scene, that was it right there. That was enough to make that movie a hit.
I mean, the whole damn thing is just hilarious. And here's the whole plot to the movie. These high school friends make a pact to lose their virginity before their high school graduation. That's the entire plot. And it's brilliant. Ensues. And it is brilliant. They did such a good job with this movie. So much so that it has had so many spinoffs. Now, I only knew that there were 3 films. I knew that there was American Pie, there was American Pie 2, and then there was
Reunion?
Well, I didn't even know about that one. I knew there was American Pie Wedding or American Wedding. And then I thought that was it. I didn't keep up with it. Yeah, there was a reunion after that.
I thought that was the 3rd one.
That was the 4th one. Those are the movies. And then they've had 5 spinoffs that went direct to video.
Oh, that's
and they even had the latest one in 2020. So this is still going on.
American Pie geriatric years.
Well, what they do is they spin it off with the siblings of the people. I don't know where they've taken it now, but this thing is its own. What would we call it?
This epic series. I'm not sure where you're going. Oh, it's a franchise.
There. Well, I was thinking something bigger than that, but yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's its own franchise basically, and it keeps going, keeps growing. And the soundtrack for the first film and the second film were huge. If you think about 1999 and what was big during that time, it was pop punk, boy bands, alternative rock, and what's on this soundtrack? Blink-182, Sugar Ray, Third Eye Blind, Tonic, Goldfinger, and this band, I'm sure you remember, Super Transatlantic.
Orchestra? Super Transatlantic Orchestra?
Nope. Oh. Super Transatlantic. Now, the reason I'm going to play this is we talked about this a few weeks ago. You must not remember.
No.
Okay, so Super Transatlantic, a.k.a. Saigon Kick.
Oh.
They renamed themselves brilliantly.
Yes.
Because Saigon Kick could no longer get airplay. They were seen as a hair band, even though they weren't. And so they changed their name. And they got on the soundtrack for American Pie. And we're going to play the song. It's pretty damn good. It definitely sounds of the time. It does not sound exactly like Saigon Kick. So they definitely made some changes to their sound to mold into what was going on. So here's Super Transatlantic with Super Down.
Stupefied and tragic, I'm a clown.
That's amazing. So it reminds me of two bands from the same era that I never thought I'd bring up on this podcast. The Rembrandts did the theme song to Friends. And Deep Blue Something, Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's that acoustic, jangly, poppy, which at the time I liked. I mean, I still do. It's just a catchy pop song is all it is.
Yep.
And that's I applaud them for the ability to change and write stuff like that at a time when that was popular at that time. I don't know how much money they made off of that, but I hope they made a couple of mortgage payments from the extra song. And I would love to see the expression on people's faces that bought their CD not knowing that 10 years before this was just the Harry's hair band.
Think about their hit.
Yeah.
The slow song. So
yeah, the big power ballads.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great to hear that. That sounded like 1999. I mean, 96 to 99. In addition to grunge fading, alt rock was still big, but you had the emergence of the rap metal, like you talked about, and of course all the boy bands on the other radio stations.
The spectrum,
On the alt rock that we mentioned, the 99X, the local alt rock radio stations, these types of songs.
That's exactly what would have been played.
We're playing at the same time that Tonic and
all the other bands I mentioned that are on this soundtrack.
Yeah.
Sugar Ray, Third Eye Blind, Tonic.
That was such a great, and looking through that playlist was a cool reminder of how diverse the music was on those stations.
What I'd love now that I know that Super Transatlantic is actually Saigon Kick is to listen to it and go, it totally is them. He definitely changes his voice to sound a little like, I'm going to sound a little punk rock Blink, like I'm sort of trying to do an English accent, but not really.
Just a little, yeah.
Little snotty, and then you still have the Saigon Kick, the awesome melodic harmonies. They're still there. They're still there. They were great at that.
There's no shredding guitar solo.
But there are two guitar solos. That's what I love. Is Jason Bieler still managed to get in two leads in this song. This is a pop song. So I love that.
But that shows restraint. I mean, that's hard to do as a guitar player. I know because I wasn't very good at that.
But he still got him in there.
Yeah, he snuck him in.
Yeah, because not all of those other bands we mentioned had a guitar lead, and especially not two.
No, that wasn't the thing.
So let's kind of stay on this same thing. And in April of 2001, a movie came out that was an adaptation of a cartoon from the 70s. This was not a new thing. This is still being done to this day, right?
Because they have no new ideas. It's just
there were no new ideas. Yeah, everything's just being redone. And same thing, in 2001, this came out. It was a comic or a cartoon that was based on a comic, Archie Comics. And I am talking about Josie and the Pussycats. Came out in 2001. Did you ever see this film?
Well, hell no.
It tanked.
Yeah.
Big time. Well, it had some very attractive women in it, so that's why I was wondering if you...
Watch it in the comfort of my own home. Thank you.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes they're like Clueless. I must have watched Clueless 10 times because... I don't know. I like the movie, but it's got hotties in it. Yeah, so Josie was Rachel Lee Cook. You had Melody played by Tara Reid, who was just coming off the American Pie movies. And you had Val played by Rosario Dawson, who is hottie.
I remember the name. I have to look that one up.
Yeah, look her up. Anyway, they play Josie and the Pussycats, who are basically punk rock band. In the 70s, they were just like a pop band, but they redid this movie in 2001, and they're kind of like a pop punk band. And they're going up against a boy band. They're competing against this boy band for whatever. It's very stupid, the actual plot of the movie, which you would expect. But the interesting thing is the soundtrack, which is listed as Josie and the Pussycats, is pretty damn good. And it sold really well. It was a gold album. The movie flopped. It absolutely flopped. It was, by all cases, it was a commercial failure when it was released. However, now that you've gotten 20 years later, it is now a cult film that people are starting to follow, and you have people dressing up as these characters at
it's probably
these
tame enough.
conventions.
Show it to your kids.
Exactly. Well, that's who
I've never seen it, but I'm just guessing.
It was probably intended for teens in 2001.
Yeah,
right. It was now
3-year-olds.
What happened was all of these kids saw it on either rentals or they saw it on HBO or Netflix as young kids, and now they've grown up with it.
Yeah.
And so it's just become this
They're
cult
looking
film.
to pacify their kids for an hour and a half. Like, here, watch this.
Now, the music is actually really good. And like I said, it's just credited to Josie and the Pussycats. So it actually didn't come out right away who was singing it. But Kay Hanley of the band Letters to Cleo is the lead singer. And then all the backing vocals are actually the three actresses. They actually sang on it.
Okay.
And Biff Naked, if you remember Biff Naked.
We saw her.
We did?
She opened for Ben Folds.
Oh,
One of the 2 times we saw him at Tabernacle.
All right. I don't remember that at all.
She had a song, son of a bitch. I was thinking of it and then I just left my memory. Lucky One.
Okay. I don't remember.
We are the Lucky. It's a great song. And that was it. She had that one song and disappeared. I think she's from Canada. Really
She's probably
good
huge
song.
in Canada.
Maybe big. We'll have to look that up and pull that out of our ass. But
so not only did they sing on it, but you obviously had a crack band of stellar studio guys cutting it. So you also had contributions from Fountains of Wayne, the Go-Go's, Jellyfish, Counting Crows. So all of these members of all of those bands helped contribute to the writing of the music, and it came out really well. And this thing was produced by Babyface, which is really weird that he produced this. It was the first rock thing he had ever produced.
He lives in Atlanta, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
He used to have LaFace Studios. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I don't think it is.
Oh, that's right. Because I remember Tony Rich. We've talked about this before. He's a musician that had a song in '90s. I don't know. I'm crying inside, and nobody knows
house,
it.
Right?
Yeah. So I did some work in his house, in his basement, and one day he was like, "Hey man, get in the car. I want to show you something." And this is in Country Club of the South, which is the ritziest, fanciest neighborhood. All the athletes, all the musicians live there. Whitney Houston, I think that's where she croaked. Anyways, he's like, get in the car. I'm like, okay, get in the car. He drives around the corner down. See that driveway? I want to drive it like that. I think it was Babyface. I may be wrong. But
L.A. Reid or Babyface?
Yeah, one of the two. But he's like, oh, my driveway looked like that. And it had been painted and all this other stuff. And I tried to convince him, like, you don't want to do that, man. You don't want to do that.
Not gonna last.
He kept parking on it before it would drive. I would barricade the driveway to keep him from parking on it. 2 days later, hey man, it's peeling up. Did you drive on it? Yeah, man, I had to park. I'm like, I told you not to. I ended up writing a check and giving him his money back. I'm like, wow. I don't want to don't call me anymore, man. And so yeah, it's a different world dealing with people like that. They just don't listen to you at all. So anyway, that's the cool Atlanta connection.
There's your connection right there. It's not a Kiss connection.
Not a connection.
It's a Babyface connection.
We have not had that. It's just a Babyface connection. It's a little tiny one.
So it's poppy, it's pop punk. It's just really well written, and it sticks to you no matter if you really like it or not. So I'm going to play the first song on the soundtrack. It's called 3 Small Words, Josie and the Pussycats.
Josie and the Pussycats, long tails and ears perhaps, guitars and sharps and flats, neat, sweet, a groovy song, you're invited, come along.
Best of both worlds. Fade out and end the song. Couldn't decide which way to go with that. What was the name of the girl punk band that we played with on our CD? Boss. Yeah, that's what
does remind you of Boss.
Yeah, it does. And
totally.
that was around the same time, maybe a year after that, 2002-ish.
Yeah, around the same time.
Around the same time. So I don't know how popular that style of music. I think it would have been more popular actually 5 years earlier than that with the girl sound, which, you don't want to come right out and say that, but still that it seemed to have had more oomph about 5 years earlier with that sound. It was very bubblegummy, but they could have marketed that a little bit more alternatively instead of as bubblegummy punk. But pop power punk was still big in 2001, but it was a
force in the late 90s, early 2000s.
It was starting to fade by
it was.
2001. That's what I was thinking. Maybe it was just a little late.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to another film that came out around that time. This came out in 2000, and this is a comedy drama written and directed by Cameron Crowe. And this is what introduced me, at least. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm pretty sure it introduced everyone to Kate Hudson.
Hello.
I'm talking about Almost Famous.
Thank you, Goldie Hawn.
Yes, thank you, Goldie Hawn, for what you produced.
And whoever else. Was it Kurt Russell?
No,
her dad? Who's
I
her
don't
dad?
think so.
Hudson. No, that didn't make sense. So anyway.
I don't know.
Doesn't
I
matter.
actually don't remember.
Whoever it was, thank you.
Anyway.
What a great movie. That changed my opinion of Elton John. I never cared about Elton John.
I had never heard that song.
What?
I had never heard Tiny Dancer until I saw this movie.
Oh my God. That was a classic rock staple. And still.
Never heard it.
I didn't care about it. I was like, that's old people music. And then all of a sudden that movie just gave it some meaning.
Yeah. So if you don't know Almost Famous, it's basically the story of Cameron Crowe's life where he was a very young kid. He was a writer for Rolling Stone. And in the 70s, he went on tour with all these bands. And this is kind of an adaptation of that with a fictional band called Stillwater. And they talk about everything that was going on during that time with groupies and the bands. And it's a really good movie. Like I said, it's based on Cameron Crowe, but it's an adaptation of his life.
But if you're in a band or want to be in a band, you have to see that movie and Spinal Tap. Because you have to be able to quote a lot of things from both those movies to be, get your credentials.
To have some
street
cred. Yeah.
Oh, man. You made friends with them. See, friendship is the booze they feed you. Is they want you to get drunk and feeling like you belong.
Well, it was fun.
Because they make you feel cool. And hey, I met you. You are not cool.
I know. Even when I thought I was, I knew I wasn't.
Because we are uncool. While women will always be a problem for guys like us, most of the great art in the world is about that very problem. Good-looking people, they got no spine. Their art never lasts. And they get the girls. But we're smarter.
Yeah, I can really see that now.
Yeah, because great art is about guilt and longing and love disguises sex and sex disguises love. Hey, let's face it. You got a big head start.
I'm glad you were home.
I'm always home. I'm uncool.
It's a great movie. It did really well. It's just up there as one of the best rock and roll movies of all time, I think. It produced a soundtrack that won a Grammy. So, talking about obscure, not really. This one, not at all. Grammy Award for the Best Compilation Soundtrack Album for a Motion Picture in 2001. It had everything on it. So if you want to know anything about 70s rock, you love 70s rock, go get this soundtrack because it has Bowie, Elton John, Zeppelin, The Who, on and on and on. The Nuge.
The Nuge. I'm glad I don't have a nickname like that.
Every band is on this. And Cameron Crowe at that time, do you know who his wife was?
No.
His wife was none other than Miss Nancy Wilson of Heart.
Whoa, what?
Yeah, they were married for years. They're no longer together, but
It seems like an age difference. I guess he was older than I thought he was.
No.
I picture him as my age.
No, he was older than that. And yeah, so they were married. They had children and everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, so she actually helped with the whole movie. With, getting the music together, getting the score together. She did the score and everything. And part of what she did was help put together what this fictional band Stillwater, what they would sound like.
She lived it. She was there.
Yeah. And so she is actually the rhythm guitarist on any of the tracks that you hear the fictional band playing in the movie. That is Nancy Wilson playing rhythm guitar, and then she picked one Mike McCready from Pearl Jam to play all of the leads. So you got Nancy and Mike McCready doing all of the Stillwater music. The other person they went to help write the songs, Peter Frampton. So you got major, you have major cred. You have major cred on these songs for this fictional band.
Yeah.
And the singer, it took a long time before people figured out who the singer was. It's this guy who's a songwriter. He's written with Aerosmith and everyone, but his name is Marty Fredrickson, and most people don't know him, but he has written with a ton of artists, especially legacy artists. And he also was, trying to remember now, the band that he was in for a minute, Bonham. He actually stepped into Bonham for like just a minute. He was the lead singer for Jason Bonham's band, Bonham. But
was Jason singing on the hit that he had?
No, he didn't sing. He just played drums.
Okay. I can remember.
Nope. The only thing he ever did on a mic was he'd go, "This one's for me, Dad," and he played rock and roll.
Makes sense.
Saw him several times, and he did it every time. This was for me, Dad.
He was good at that.
But anyway, back to Almost Famous. So the soundtrack, every 70s band you can ever imagine, Grammy Award, multi-platinum album. What could I play from this that would even fit our bill? Well, there is one song on it by the fictional band Stillwater, which is featured in the movie. And I have never, ever heard this played on anything. It's a damn good song. I just told you who wrote it.
Yeah.
I mean, and who played on it. So it's a damn good song. I don't know why it actually wasn't a hit on its own, but we're going to play it. Here's Fever Dog from Stillwater.
I did some Googling during that song, and I found out that it actually was a hit back in the 70s, except it was called When the Levee Breaks.
Well, funny you say that.
Huge hit for a different band.
Funny you say that because they basically based Stillwater's sound on a combination of Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath.
Okay, well, that makes a little more sense.
That's what Nancy was going for when she wrote that with Peter Frampton.
I couldn't figure out which guitar was hers on that, but it's
She was the rhythm. She did all the rhythm.
Like
I think just
the very beginning. That
I
was
think
her.
just Mike. Yeah, I think just Mike came in and did
so
the
much
leads.
heavier than I'm used to hearing.
Oh man, she can rock it out.
I know she can. I love hearing it. About damn time. God, just good. I mean, they captured that sound really well.
I'm surprised that, and maybe somebody in some other market other than ours, maybe that was a hit.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find anything about that being a hit.
I mean, that's
what sold that soundtrack was the fact that it had all of those classic 70s songs, and
it would have been long enough. There was nostalgia coming back again.
Yeah, I mean, like the Elton John song. I mean, Tiny Dancer went huge again.
Yeah, he sold a lot of extra albums at that point.
And Led Zeppelin hardly ever, almost never actually let any of their songs be on any movies, and because they knew Cameron Crowe, and they allowed it, so it had Zeppelin on it. Just huge, but yet I feel like that was a lost song, a missed opportunity, because that could have been a hit.
Was it actually in the movie? Because soundtrack songs aren't always in the movie.
That's the song. They play snippets of Stillwater on stage, and that's usually, there's like 3 or 4 songs. That is one that I think is in the movie twice.
Okay.
So at the very beginning and at the end, I believe this is the song they're playing.
I can see it slow motion.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's exactly. It's in slow motion. They show the band from backstage, basically, and I think it's the opening shot.
God, what a good movie.
Really good. All right. Well, let's go to another summer blockbuster flop that ended up being a cult classic thanks to rentals in the 90s. And this is an album that it is an album too, but this is a movie that came out in 1993 starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. It should have been huge.
He was
huge.
Not the movie.
Yeah, this is Last Action Hero.
This is before he was governor.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Yes, this is before he was governor. This is 1993. He had a long string of summer blockbuster movies. This one came out and it flopped. It was a satire of everything he had done. It was an action genre satire. So the whole point of the film is that it's going to kind of make fun of all the cliches that he's helped create over the whole 80s by being basically a caricature of himself in a movie where a kid in the movie gets transported into his movies, this character that he's playing, and the kid gets trapped inside the movie, and the villain from the movies comes into the real world. So it's like this.
It was complicated. And
it is complicated
for the general public. Sometimes that's not the best thing when you're going to see it for an escape. The real world is something that's complicated. You can't figure out what the hell's going on.
Well, it's also just bad. It's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think this is the same concept of the Simpsons movie where Homer comes into reality.
Well, that's what got me about the Terminator is the time. Okay, I got the first one. All right, then there's the second one that goes back before that. And then they change this, and you're like,
the time travel.
Yeah, I'm like, hang on, what's going? Wait a minute.
You guys lost me.
Yeah, I never made it to the third one because I was confused.
So
I'm one of those general public that didn't really get along with that.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not a good movie, but it's since become a cult classic because it's just one of those movies that people think's funny now, and it is funnier now than it was then. But if you think about how fresh it was for him to be making fun of all the stuff he had made all that money on just a few years prior, it didn't work. It didn't work at that time.
He got paid.
He didn't care. The soundtrack is a banger of an album. It went platinum. It was that transitional phase, 1993. We've talked about this. It features 80s hard rock superstars and rising 90s grunge bands and alternative acts, all on the same soundtrack. 7 songs off of the soundtrack were hits. This thing, like I said, went platinum. So the hits that were on this thing, AC/DC, there's a song called Big Gun. It was just done for this movie. That was a hit. Queensryche had a kind of slower number called Real World. That was a hit. Alice in Chains had 2 songs on this soundtrack. What the Hell Have I was a big hit. Megadeth, Angry Again. That was a hit for them. The biggest hit of the album, though, was a slow number by Def Leppard called 2 Steps Behind. If you remember that one?
No.
I hate the song. I can't stand it, but it was a huge hit for Def Leppard. May have been their last big hit before
they became legacy.
Yeah, they became a legacy act. And then a re-release, Dream On Live by Aerosmith is on this thing, and that was a hit. Again, the live version of it was a hit. So all of these did really well. And then the other single that was out there, Swim by Fishbone, which had decent rotation on MTV, the Swim video. Probably the biggest Fishbone ever got. Yeah, so all of these killer cuts, it's a huge album. Yet there's a band on here that got played as the second song in the end credits. AC/DC plays as the movie's going off the screen, and then after the AC/DC song is over, the credits are still rolling, you get what should have been the title track of the movie, but they didn't give it good placement. And I'm talking about Last Action Hero, the song, by the band Tesla.
So
Tesla were pretty big at this time, but Tesla didn't get any of the hit off of this thing like all the other bands did. Yeah, so it's like a lost Tesla song called Last Action Hero. It's the only time Tesla has ever written a song for a movie. So it was, we want you to base your writing of this song around the movie.
They were playing in all the previews, the hype reels, everything like that, but it sounds like, I don't know, somebody made that call.
So it's kind of a lost classic at this point. It's kind of the forgotten gem on this album, I think. Let's play Tesla's Last Action Hero.
Was that our very good friend, Tommy Skio?
That was Tommy Skio, yes, on guitar. Frank Hannon as well.
Yeah, okay. Sounded familiar, sounded like Tesla. But they got screwed by AC/DC.
Placement. They got screwed by placement.
Because that sounds like it would have been the absolute perfect song to be playing as the credits roll. Duh.
It was. It was just second. So everybody was already gone.
Yeah. Who sticks around? I mean, 3 people stick around for the credits, but then who's going to stick around for after the credits? Nobody. Yeah. They kick you out. They're like, oh, sir, you got to go.
I mean, it is on the album, so people did hear it. It's just, it didn't.
But maybe
it didn't take like
93 was that tipping point where grunge had a firm hold by then.
That was about the time that Tesla hit their peak.
Yeah.
Probably. And
5-Man Acoustical Jam was 91.
89 or 90, I believe. 90.
So they rode that wave for a year or two, but by 93, that wave.
Well, they had Psychotic Supper, I believe, in 91. That was a hit still. They had their next album, I think, was called Bust a Nut. I can't remember if this is for Bust a Nut or not. Bad album title.
Bad. I'm not paying for that.
Yeah. I have never seen Tesla live. Have you?
Yeah.
So
I didn't have to. I had their live album.
Was it acoustic?
We kind of did. We saw Tommy Skill.
We did see Tommy. Yeah, so I'm actually going to see them on the Monsters of Rock cruise next year.
Okay.
So they are one of the bigger bands.
I'm sure that's going to be a good show. You recognize 3 songs they play, maybe 4.
I know some Tesla, man. I got all the Tesla stuff. I don't have Bust a Nut. I never bought that one. Didn't want Bust a Nut.
No comment.
Don't want to Bust a Nut.
No,
especially not here.
No, not in your car. You don't want that anywhere.
Oh, man. Moving on, and that really goes well with the next movie album that we're going to play. So in 97, there was a movie that came out based on a best-selling book from 1993, and it starred the author himself. That man is Howard Stern. Private Parts came out in 1997. I didn't grow up listening to Stern. Did you?
No. We had shows that were ripping him off, which I didn't know at the time because I never heard of Howard Stern. But we had the first one I heard of when I moved to Daytona, the Orlando radio station that I've also talked about, how that was the first alternative rock radio station. They had Ron and Ron in the morning, and they were syndicated in about 5 or 6 stations across the Southeast. And they would joke about Howard Stern. I didn't know who Howard Stern was, but they joked about it because they knew they were basically just ripping him off. It was shock jock radio at its best.
Live from Tampa Bay, where the real money makers this 4th of July are flag-shaped fireworks, so you could burn them and make a statement at the same time. Meet a couple of guys who are trying to get down to the heart of the matter on a Monday morning. Tampa Bay's bad boys, Ron and Ron, on 95 WYNF, Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater.
Monday morning. Good morning, buddy.
Buddy. What's happening?
How's your weekend?
Very relaxing. I got a little bronchial thing happening, man.
Ronnie, it's going around everywhere. Everywhere.
Okay, so I can't even complain about it or ask for any kind of sympathy?
Well...
Speaking of which, Bud, where were you over the weekend? We had a beautiful party, Julie Limo Drivers.
Uh-huh.
And it was really fantastic. Eddie was there. Ricky, Fez, Billy from Phone Freak.
That bug,
the whole morning gang.
Well, that bug you're talking about is going around in my place too, Ronnie.
I'm just kidding. Only Fez went to that thing.
Oh, Fez went?
Yeah.
Yes, I was there. What a wacky party. Like partying with the Addams family or the Manson family, one of them. My goodness, there was a boy there naked. He lost his pants playing pool. They were, of course, playing strip pool, and he lost his pants, just running around naked, feeling free.
You must have loved that, huh?
But the best thing is Julie was standing there, had a little buffet with posters and stickers, and she was dancing.
They asked me to go out on the boat. This wacky crew asked me to go on the boat. Come on, Fez, it'll be a 3-hour tour. That's a little Gilligan's Island.
Yeah,
drunk up humor there.
That's why no one laughed.
And we had a station here in Atlanta. Later on, 96 Rock, they had the regular guys that were same thing, just shock jocks. And it was pretty funny at the time, but you couldn't get away with that now. The FCC cracked down on that years ago.
I grew up in Charlotte with John Boy and Billy.
Oh, I've heard of that. Same thing. Yeah. They were syndicated around. Yeah. If I was traveling or driving around, you'd pick that up on the radio. So but John Boy and Billy were...
They weren't funny. They were very rednecky. Just, they didn't come across funny to me.
John Boy and Billy. Yo! Mad Max.
Max, how you doing, buddy?
Well,
How you think? We got a draft-dodging, dope-smoking, pea-whipped pinhead in Washington. The White House has turned to an employment agency for his wife's whiny feminist lawyer friends. New Surgeon General's gonna put condoms on school lunch trays. The Secretary of Defense wants to change the Marine hymn from Halls of Montezuma to Send in the Clowns, and they want to use my tax dollars to pay for it all. Now, what could be wrong? Why would I possibly be mad?
Max, you can't fool us. I think you're really mad after all.
And egad, Holmes, you've done it again.
Kind of like the other one. What was the other one on 96?
Regular Guys.
Regular Guys. Yeah, that one never worked with me either. I did like somebody that I feel like was more like Howard Stern, which was the Grease Man.
Grease Man.
Like, Grease Man was fun.
He was on 92.9, whatever that was called at the time.
Talk about speckling.
Slop on the door, dogs. See, you and I remember that from 23 years ago. That's amazing. He was only on for a few years, maybe 2 or 3 years. He got canceled. That was like early cancel culture back then.
Yeah, he was canceled.
I don't even remember what it was for, but it was tame.
He went too far.
Yeah, he just went. He would go off on these little not rants even. These just stories that he's making up, just pulling out of his ass. And I think he just took it a little too far.
Washington and Baltimore's home of the Grease Man, WJFK.
All right, we're back in action. The Grease standing by for blessed relief. I'm talking about blessed relief. Hi.
Grease.
Yes.
Hey, I'm down here in Woodbridge, Virginia.
Yes, sir.
I heard about that girl that wanted to get into that Monogatwaggy.
Yeah, the Monogatwaggy?
Yeah.
The Menage. What? Oh, my God.
Well, I was wondering how I'd get my wife into something like that.
I believe you have to speak to your wife about it, see what she thinks.
Okay.
Set her down and say, honey, here's an idea for zesty fun. Why not bring one of them macaroni and cheese eating friends of yours over here for a little Monogatwaggy action?
And the worst part is, I live in a trailer off of Route 1.
Well, there you go. I'm sure that it's laden with unemployed people milling around, bored. Just leave a trail of Twinkies to your door. And sure enough, somebody will barrel through the door and then...
No! What a night. What a nut. Oh, my God, it's him, the Grease Man.
Yeah, but to me, he was the most comparable to Howard Stern, at least from watching Private Parts and the old things that he used to do on, I think it was DC 101.
Stunts and
all the stunts
and
things. The porn stars and all the
strippers
stuff.
in there, yeah.
The movie was, have you ever seen the movie, Private Parts?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
It's funny. It's his story, basically. It's Hollywood.
It's based on
version of it.
It's close enough where you're like, that pretty much happened.
And then it has like a feel-good piece at the end to end it off. So
that was before he got paid $180 million to go to Sirius XM, and it became really boring because you can say whatever you want. Who knew?
Right. Shock was gone.
Being able to say whatever you want. It just took the fun out of it.
And also, I think the movie he's all about at the end, the whole feel-good part is he's all about his wife and having children and all that stuff. I think they got divorced like not too long
right after that, yeah. So, he held it together long enough to finish the movie and write that, so that was good.
Yeah, so it did pretty well. The soundtrack, again, another just banger of a soundtrack. I mean, obviously, Howard Stern was a rock DJ, so he had connections with whomever he wanted to be on his soundtrack. They're on it. So it's kind of a mix of classic rock songs and contemporary songs, like from the time of 1997. So it's got your AC/DC, Van Halen, The Nuge, Ramones, but it also has...
This is the most times we've mentioned The Nuge in one episode.
Also has Green Day, Marilyn Manson, Rob Zombie. So it's got the contemporary stuff as well. Not a single obscure thing on this, except for this. It's kind of obscure. I'm going to play a song that was a single. You're going to know this song, but it was such a short-lived lineup of this particular band that it wasn't as big as I thought it was going to be because they didn't stick around. They became something else. But the song I'm talking about is a lineup of Porno for Pyros that basically is Jane's Addiction with Fleet, because it features Dave Navarro with Perkins and with Perry Farrell and Fleet. And they only, I think, recorded 2 songs with that lineup, and then they reformed Jane's Addiction and did a tour as Jane's Addiction. And I don't know if you remember, but 99X had this big thing where they were giving away tickets to go see that version of Jane's Addiction when they reformed.
No,
it was a huge deal. I remember I tried to win tickets and couldn't do it, and the thing was sold out. But But this version of Porno for Pyros, like I said, like 2 songs, and one of them ended up on Private Parts. It is a single. It's a pretty long song to be a single, but I always just really dug this song, so I'm going to play it because I don't think it's getting its due. I think it's a little bit lost. So in 97, it was played, though, and the song is called Hard Charger.
Well, I can't really tell the difference between Porno for Pyros and Jane's Addiction in this particular circumstance. So I understand
that's because
why
it's basically Jane's Addiction.
Basically,
with Flea.
I mean, I honestly don't know that much about Porno for Pyros. I really like their one hit that I know of.
Pets.
That was right out of college. I was playing guitar at that time, not yet writing songs, but still trying to figure out how to play the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really different than everything else on the radio at that time. It was really different, and I liked it. But in this case, yeah, this is just, I don't know, maybe they had a contractual obligation where they couldn't call it Jane's Addiction or something like that.
Well, so what happened was Porno for Pyros put out that first album. They had the hit with Pets.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the album, I mean, it's good, but it's pretty weird. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Perry, right? And Perkins. So then they put out a second album that didn't do nearly as well. And I think the guitarist or a couple of the members left.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dave Navarro came back with Flea to help because if you remember, Dave had gone to Chili Peppers. He was in the Chili Peppers for one album.
Mm-hmm.
And this was around that time. And so he kind of helped out Perry on tour and doing some things. But that was the hit for Porno for Pyros.
Mm.
And when Flea and Dave came in, they cut 2 songs, and this was one of them. And so it got released here.
Yeah, instead of
in '97.
Like I said, it might have been some legal issues, or that somebody said, you can make more money keeping it under this band or
Do
something.
you remember this song being
No,
played on the
not
radio?
at all. No.
Because the whole reason that I even bought the soundtrack was for this song.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing it on 99X, the same station we've
Yeah.
been talking about. And then I went and saw the movie, and I don't even remember the song in the movie. I'm sure it's there,
Yeah.
but I don't remember
But this is what I was talking about. I want to go back and find these songs, specifically the ones I don't remember, because I know there was a lot more besides this. The one song I mentioned earlier I saw, and on these playlists that are on Spotify, it's mostly the hits that I'm like, yeah, I know all of these songs.
Yeah.
But if you were just to go back in time and listen to 3 hours of what they were actually playing, there's going to be this, and I know out there's got to be song list or
some hidden gems.
Yeah, a playlist or something. Not just a playlist, but just a list of songs.
Yeah, track sheet of some
Track
sort,
sheet
yeah.
of something. I'll have to do some more digging because this just came up yesterday. A friend of mine and I started talking about this, and all of a sudden I became interested. But it's something I've thought about all these years. Now that we're doing the podcast, especially, there's a lot of music that we could talk about that I'm just not remembering what it was.
Yep, time for Robert to have some Robert's picks.
I got to do some research, man.
Yeah.
Where's my staff? Crack staff.
They're downstairs.
They're downstairs in the air conditioning.
In the bibliothèque.
The bibliothèque, yes. That's a room I don't go in very often. It's got some cobwebs on it.
All right. Well, you've got your homework cut out for you for next time.
Yep.
So until then,
see ya
later. See you at the movies.
My eyes water.
I feel really good now, though.
Yeah.